Hi guys. So after signing into TinkerCAD with Google and joining your instructor's class with the proper code, we're going to go into starting with the actual original TinkerCAD. Now TinkerCAD may sound a little bit infantile, a little bit young, but it is a tremendously powerful 3D modeling program that uses basic shapes to create complex items. And this will be a good introduction to 3D modeling so that as you move on forward into the program, you'll have a better idea of what it is you're going to be getting into. So first we're going to make sure that we are in 3D designs. But rather than going to create new designs, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Learn tab on the far right. On the Learn tab, you're going to see something called Starters. And the very first assignment is going to be to go through all of the starters. So if you click on that, you'll see you'll have 2, 4, 6, 7 different starters. And afterwards, we'll get on to lessons. And there'll be more videos on some of these other ones. The first parts we're going to be working on are going to be very, very simple, but we want to make sure that everybody has a decent introduction to the program, starting from the very beginning. So you're going to click on Place It, and we'll start to the first one. Now, on mine, I'm going to have to reset it because it thinks that I've already done it because I did go through it once. But I do want you to look at the right side, and we've got all kinds of different shapes that we can put on here, right? So we're going to start off with a basic box and read the instructions on the left. It says the orange box on the work plane. The work plane is your virtual desktop, and this box is kind of the hint, right? So it says left click and drag the box shape to the hint. All right, so we're going to go over here on the right, and we're going to take the solid box and put it onto the plane. And what we've done is we have placed it. The other thing that you'll notice that you'll be able to do once you place it is you can change the length, you can change the width, and you can change the height depending on how you wanted it, right? So let's go back and make it a little bit smaller. The other thing you can do, and we'll talk a little bit later on, is move it around within the work plane, right? But right now, let's go ahead and go to the next step. And that says is done. We are done for the very first starter. So let's continue. Go to the next thing. And I'm going to reset mine. So the next thing is to view the item in different ways. So we have a cube in our work plane. And first thing I want you to realize that if you left click and drag, right, now if you don't have a mouse, you're going to have to play around with the mouse with the trackpad. But if you do have a mouse, I strongly suggest that you use it. So notice that if I click and drag, I can go anywhere I want. The other thing that you'll notice is that there's handles. These little squares will change the size. And the other thing that is kind of cool is you can put in a number directly onto it if you wanted a particular size. All right, so if I click on this, the other thing I have is this little cone shaped icon. And what that is doing, it is moving it up into the Z direction. And you can't really see it unless you right click and then move your work plane. So left clicking moves the item, right clicking moves the entire work plane. So now you can notice that I can go up and down as well as moving things back, forward, left, and right, all 3 dimensions, okay? So you can also scroll in if you have a mouse scroll wheel, right? And hopefully get a chance to move things around and just to kind of see how things are going. All right, so that was enough for that one. We are done with it. And let's continue. Moving on to the next one, it's going to be another one I have to reset. Yes. Is it wants you to move items to different places in the work plane. So we can go to next, and it says drag these to the correct locations. So I can just drag them and make sure that they are snapped into the correct boxes, and I'm left clicking and dragging. That's all I'm doing. I'm left clicking and dragging, right? And that was it for that one. So you can see the starters are relatively easy, but these are the basic building blocks on how to move things around within TinkerCAD. Okay, so this one's a little bit different, and we want to learn how to rotate each individual part. So I'm zooming in a little bit by using the scroll wheel. Notice that if whenever I click on the shape, remember that we have these little handles, but another thing we have are these arrows. The arrows are going to kind of open up a protractor so that I can move it at an angle. So in this case, I'm going to rotate it by clicking on it, right? Clicking on that arrow, and then moving it to the right or to the left, whatever. In this case, I'm going to line it up, and it's going to be at minus 45 degrees, and that one is done. As I go to the next one, you'll notice that I need to rotate it on a different axis. So I'm going to go to the bottom one and move it to match. And on the last one, I'm thinking I'm going to move my plane a little bit by right-clicking and dragging, and then realizing which one is going to be my rotational axis. And I can drag in here, and I've got at 45, right? So once you move all three into the correct spot, you are done. All right, let me reset this one. So now we're going to resize items. We have boxes that are already in here. If you get an empty box, then all you got to do is drag the box on from the other side. And once you have it here, then you can drag it up and down, left or right, to match the correct sizing. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to move this around a little bit, and I can drag to match that, and I can drag to match that. Okay. On this one, I'm going to move it all the way to the one corner, make it easier on myself, and then just drag one thing that'll allow me to move in two directions at the same time. And once I've got that, oh, it looks like I missed this a little tiny bit, and I move it over to the left, and I'm good there. All right, looks like I've got them, and I go to next. Oh, and I've already done that, so you're done. All right, moving on. We're going to learn how to make a hole in a part. So you'll notice we have two boxes that are exactly the same, but they have different things sticking out of them. On the first one, these are two separate pieces. I can actually drag it out, but it is on it. And what I want to do is I want to combine them and make them one solid piece. So in the instructions, you'll see that it says they want you to click on the item, hold the shift key, and then click on the second item. So now you've got both of them selected. And you can tell that you've got both of them selected by this little blue line that goes around it. And when you hit that, then you can go over to the toolbar on the top and click on Group. Once you click on Group, it'll make them one solid piece, right? You'll see that you saw that it changed color to the color of the part that I selected initially. Now, if I wanted to make a hole in a part, and I'm going to show you this by bringing in a separate part. Okay, and I have a part, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring a cylinder. Now this one, if you can see that the cylinder is, I'm actually going to make it, actually what I'll do is I'll bring in the original part, right? So I've got a cylinder that I'm going to resize. So I can make it shorter, I can make it skinnier, right? I can change, whatever thing shape I want. And then I can bring it on. So if I drag it onto here, and maybe if I have it sticking out, and I go to select them both, click on one, hit the Shift key, Control, then it gives me the option to group them. And you'll notice that it gives me a single piece with that sticking out. All right, but back to the hole. If I have a part here and one of the holes, which is the shaded shape in here, and I select both of them by holding the Shift key, and I click Group, it'll make a hole in the part. All right, so let's try another one. I'm going to bring in a box in here, and then I'm going to bring in a cylinder, which is shaded, and that's going to be the hole. And I'm going to make the box a little bit bigger so that the hole is going to be relatively so that it fits within it. All right, and it looks like I'm good. Now if I select both of them, right, I can go Group, and you'll see that I've got a big hole right in the middle of the part. All right, so don't forget to read the instructions on the left if you get stuck. All right, so that was it for that one. And we are almost done. So let's move on to, I believe this is the last one, and this is for aligning things. So it says, let's explore the different ways these shapes can be aligned. Hovering over an alignment handle will show you a preview of what the alignment will look like, and clicking the handle will move the shapes to that position. So in this particular case, if I click on the item, I'm going to click on each item. I'm going to hold the Shift key every time I do that. And then I'm going to click on the Align button in the toolbar, which is step number 3 on the instructions. All right. So once I do that, then you'll notice I've got different handles. So let's go to the next step. So if I hover over the item, then it will allow me to align to certain things. So what happens if I go here and I select on that handle? It'll align it this way, or if I select this one, it will align that way. Okay, so play around with it. There's no wrong way to do things. And then when you're done, you can go back to the TinkerCAD dashboard, and you'll notice that all of your lessons have been done. Now you'll also notice that once you start something new, it'll give you kind of a wacky name, and we'll talk about that later. But have fun. There's no real way you can mess this up for the time being. Please ask if you have any questions.